I love the way it makes me feel. It's my comfort. But I know the food is killing me.
It seems the table was put on here.
When it comes to sad stories, My 600-Pound Life has them in spades. Each episode is packed full of people so crippled by their weight that they have very few options left. An episode that had many viewers reeling was one about a man named Steven Assanti. Steven's tumultuous journey was one for the books. He left viewers both angry and stunned. Let's dive in a little deeper and see what made this episode one that sticks with people long after they've watched it. Steven Assanti started life out in a pretty typical family. He had a mom and a dad and a younger brother named Justin. Not everything was what it seemed, and Steven's parents began having major problems in their marriage. Steven's mother was an alcoholic and eventually left the family and divorced Steven's dad. Steven and his brother were both living with their mother when things took a turn. Steven's mom would leave the two young boys home alone while she went out partying all night long. Steven sometimes wouldn't see his mother for days. While she was out, she would leave the boys plenty of food to eat. Steven began eating more and more in order to cope with the abandonment he felt when his mother would leave. He would eat so much, in fact, that there wouldn't be any food left for his little brother. Just when Steven didn't think he could take much more, one night, his mother left for the night as usual, but this time, she didn't return. The boys were left with nobody to care for them. Once the boys were returned to their father's home to live, Steven's food addiction only got worse. It wasn't long before the brothers both weighed over 200 pounds. Steven's mental and physical health went downhill fast. After many physical altercations with his dad, Steven's mother finally said that Steven could come back to live closer to her again. Steven was elated. Finally, he would feel love from his mother, and he could leave those feelings of abandonment behind. Things didn't quite go as planned. Once Steven was living closer to his mom, he never saw her. She made no effort to repair the relationship between herself and Steven. This left Steven devastated. At the weight he was at, Steven couldn't get around easily and became severely depressed. To comfort himself, he started eating 6 large Dominos pizzas a day. By the time Steven moved back to live with his father, Steven was tipping the scales at around 600 pounds. Once back at his father's house, Steven was unmanageable. His anger and entitlement ruled the house. Steven got into fights with his brother Justin. When he couldn't physically fight him because of his size, he would verbally attack Justin. Steven's father was hoping for a miracle for his son. There were no local hospitals that would take and keep Steven to help him lose weight. Steven was kicked out for numerous programs for his behavior and for sneaking food, mostly pizza, into the hospitals. Steven's dad had to look out of state and eventually connected with Dr. Now, who practices out of Houston. By the time Dr. Now agreed to help Steven, he weighed over 700 pounds. The main problem that arose was transporting Steven to Houston. Steven was too large to just travel in a car or bus. He would have to be put into a hospital bed, and then the hospital bed would need to be loaded onto a truck. The trip was 29 hours long, and many problems arose on the way. The bed broke, leaving those helping with the transport to figure out a way to mend the bed so they could continue on. Once they arrived in Houston, Steven met Dr. Now and began his journey. When Steven's brother and father were gone, Steven spiraled out of control. He was verbally abusive with the staff and continually called them into his room for absolutely no reason. Dr. Now was forced to intervene and talk to Steven about his behavior. If Steven couldn't change his ways, Dr. Now would recommend that he leave the hospital and continue the program in off-site housing. Even after Dr. Now spoke to him, Steven continued yelling at the staff, going as far as to spill urine in his room when he was angry, so they would have to clean it up. That was the last straw, and Dr. Now told Steven he had to go. Steven's father had to come back to Houston to move Steven into his apartment. Once Steven was living in off-site housing, he immediately celebrated by browbeating his father into ordering him a pizza. Steven had a home care aide named Princess, who he seemed to like. Princess would try and keep Steven on track, but he was sneaky and would do as he pleased. Besides the pizza slip-up, Steven seemed to be doing okay. until he missed his first doctor's appointment since being released. At that point, Princess began driving over to Steven's apartment to see what was going on. When she arrived, Steven was nowhere to be found. At his size, it was hard to imagine that he could just up and leave, so Princess hit redial on Steven's cell phone to find out if Steven was in trouble. She discovered that Steven did in fact call 911 and was taken to the ER. When Dr. Now was finally able to check in with Steven, he found out that Steven had fallen off the program and had been abusing his pain medication. Steven had been calling his father and manipulating him into ordering Steven pizza up to 8 times a week. Steven finally made it in for his doctor's appointment, and Dr. Now revealed that Steven had gained over 80 pounds since leaving the hospital. The final straw was when Steven asked Dr. Now for another pain medicine prescription. When Dr. Now refused, Steven asked to be brought to the hospital to get the meds behind Dr. Now's back. Steven was officially kicked out of the program. Since appearing on My 600 Pound Life, Steven has had a really remarkable transformation. He was somehow able to lose enough weight on his own to allow for weight loss surgery. According to Steven, he's lost 200 pounds since the episode wrapped. In 2018, he married his girlfriend Stephanie. He has recently commented on alleged harassment he and his family has received from the internet haters since he appeared in a Where Are They Now episode of My 600 Pound Life. He claims that he wasn't portrayed accurately, and the show embellished a lot of his behavior to make the show more entertaining. We'll let you come to your own conclusion on that one. Has there been a more shocking episode of My 600 Pound Life than the one featuring Steven Assanti? What shocked you the most about his journey? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one.